Welcome to The Topic on HCC TV, where we highlight Houston Community College, our students, our programs, and our reach into the community. I'm Todd Duplantis. If you're watching us on HCC TV or in social media, you can download the audio versions of all of our podcasts at hccs.edu/podcast. We have got an excellent show lined up for you the next half hour. Some great guests talking about the fashion design program. If you want to look good, your clothes play a big part in it, and we're teaching the next generation of fashion designers here at Houston Community College. Professor Andrea Bonner, Chair of Consumer Arts and Sciences, and Nicolas ChampRoux, Program Coordinator from Fashion Design. Thanks for being here on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Good morning.
A lot of folks may be familiar with HCC's fashion department because of two big shows we do, one in the fall, one in the spring. Briefly, before we get started, maybe you can mention those.
Yes, we have every first Friday in December and every first Friday in May. We do our big we do our big shows.
Right.
The first Friday in December is kind of a show for our new design students who have just come into the program. It's more of a sustainable style show where they use different types of materials. They may not sew as great as some of our students who've been in the program for a while, so they take different materials and create garments. It used to be called Flash and Trash.
Right.
And then our spring show is our collection show for our senior students, and they all show a 5-piece collection that they've worked on over the course of a year, and that's the first Friday in May every year.
And that's the one that involves the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, correct?
No, that one actually doesn't involve Museum of Fine Arts of Houston. We also we have a partnership with the Museum of Fine Arts of Houston where we do Fashion Fusion. And that's centered around either an exhibit that's at the museum at the time. So we do that yearly as well in the early, right around the same time as our spring show. So we're a little crazy during that time.
Of course, fashion design, the designers get all the fanfare because everybody wants to design the fashions. But I would imagine the program has several parts. And if you want to get into the industry, not everybody's going to be a designer. Maybe you can give us an overview of all the job possibilities that are available.
Exactly, yeah. And coming from, even though I'm the chair now, coming from the fashion merchandising side, I always talk about that's the business side of fashion. So with a fashion show, there's, of course, the designers. We wouldn't have a show without the clothes that they create. But there are all the things that go along with that, like the production part of it, the coordinating the models, the music, the choreography, getting a venue, all of those things. So there are people who actually do that for a living, coordinate fashion shows, and they make a good business out of it. So there are those jobs, but there are also other jobs in the fashion industry, again, tied to the designers, like being buyers, being a stylist, working in visual merchandising. The clothes don't just sell themselves. They have to be displayed a certain way in order for people to want to buy them. So those are some great areas that you can work in.
Nicholas, when you meet with a young student who's interested in fashion design, what are some of the misconceptions they have and some of the realities that you place into them?
I think that most of the students coming our way are hoping to have their own brand launched after they leave the college, which is in itself a triumph. I mean, it's a major undertaking, and most people are going to end up working with a designer, with an established brand, so they will not see their name on the billboard. So this is definitely a misconception that we like to bring up. And then the next thing is...
But you got to set your sights high, though.
Right,
Let's face it.
it's better to be ambitious to start with.
Right.
But there are other specialties within fashion as well that can be taught as part of fashion design. So theatrical costume can be one, being a pattern maker, or even someone that only does custom designs and maybe doesn't have their huge New York City brand is also an option. So we have a lot of different solutions.
What's the market like in the Houston area for fashion design? Is Houston a fashion hub, or are we up there with the New Yorks and Los Angeles?
I wouldn't say we're up there with New York and Los Angeles, but we're coming. And the great thing about Houston, it's so diverse, it's wide open. So I always tell my students they can create their own opportunities here in Houston. There are a lot of people. Obviously, we're the I want to overtake Chicago, the third or fourth largest city in the country, and there are a lot of people here who love design. They love clothes. They have the money to spend. So just as Alan and other people have, they kind of create their own niche here. So they're although it may not be in New York or LA, we're getting there. It has a huge retail market here, so students can, whether start their own business, get into boutiques, get into some other established stores here, so the market's there.
With having the several shows that you guys have throughout the year, do students get the chance for that hands-on experience? Because I know in like television production and what we do in communications, it's about those internships and getting out there and working in the real world. Do you have those opportunities for the students here?
Absolutely. Each student has to go through an internship class in order to complete their associate's degree. But even outside of the internship class, because we have certificates where students may not do the internship, we get requests daily for opportunities in the market for students to work fashion shows or to come help with production and things like that. So there are a lot of opportunities out there, and we really encourage our students to follow those opportunities.
Do you work with job placement for them to help them out as soon? And then I'll ask you that question, and then I want to talk about transferring for a four-year degree. Maybe you can cover both of those.
Yes, we do work with career services. They have great career fair where they're only focused on consumer arts and sciences, so they get employers in that can help place our students in those areas. We do work with University of Houston here, FIT in New York, FITM in California, and some other institutions where they take all of our credits, which is really good, and students are able to transfer into those programs as juniors and only have to take 2 years there, which is a lot more economical than going there for the whole four-year degree.
For those of you listening to us on our audio podcast, we're talking with Professor Andrea Bonner, Chair of Consumer Arts and Sciences here at Houston Community College, and also Nicolas ChampRoux, the program coordinator for HCC's Fashion Design. We're talking fashion. We've got a very special guest coming up. You've probably heard of him before on the show in a few minutes. But right now, I want to ask you, are there ways that connect students with work once their studies are complete?
Well, that one is actually an interesting one because we're trying to keep hold of our students once they graduate. We have a lot of people coming our way asking for interns or assistants.
Right.
And at this point, it's a case of knowing how to reach back to them. But this is definitely something that we keep in mind. Sometimes we will transfer a student that is still with us. Sometimes a student has graduated but is still working with us as a TA or as part of the department. Or sometimes the person has left and we try to have them get in touch with the designer. So all these exist for sure.
And I guess it's just the age-old thing. Networking is what it's all about, and that's what you guys are here to keep the students connected.
Absolutely. It is what you know, but it's also who you know.
Sure,
So,
it helps
yeah.
a lot. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Nicolas and I will be joined by an HCC alum who already has made his mark and has a few special projects in store. Stay tuned to the topic.
Meet Bethel. She has a passion for fashion and a need to succeed, so she's going for 2 associate's degrees at Houston Community College, fashion design and merchandising. HCC, for everyone, anytime. Meet Ekaterina. She has lofty goals to learn English and accounting. So she's studying for 2 degrees at Houston Community College, which means she's going all the way to the top. HCC, for everyone, anytime.
Welcome back to the topic. We're talking HCC's fashion design program. I'm Todd Duplantis, joined by Nicolas ChampRoux from the design program, and Alan Gonzalez joining me now. He is an HCC alum, recently took place in Passion for Fashion. I'm sure you met a lot of folks there at that. We're going to talk about that in a second. Looking forward to hearing about that. But what led you to HCC's fashion program?
You know, I'm going to be honest. It was my last choice.
Right.
I was like, I'm not going to go to a community college.
Sure.
Absolutely not. But by the time that I actually started looking at programs in Houston and I started looking at the quality of work
Right.
that HCC was sending out into the world, I was like, oh, I have to go here. And then it became my top choice because the quality of the work that they're really putting into these students is just so high. You wouldn't expect it out of the name, but it is truly, truly, truly so high.
Well, that's exactly what I know that communications and marketing would love to hear that, because that's exactly what they're trying to get across the students. You know,
Yeah.
HCC is more than just a community college. It really
Right.
turned out some professional individuals, and you're an example of that. Describe to me how the faculty, how you connected with folks like Nicolas and Andrea Bonner, and how they've helped you along the way.
They are absolutely amazing. I think that they look at every student as a human, as a person. They see their strengths and weaknesses and help them all individually. That, I think, is one of the beautiful things about HCC, is that you don't feel like you're this fish in a giant aquarium and they're just like sprinkling your little fish food to everybody. It's like they're handpicking what you need as, you know, a person, as for you. And that was really a lot of help.
I want to talk about Passion for Fashion, the recent show that happened a few months ago. And I know we have lots of great video, which folks will get to see that while we're talking about this. But tell me about your part in the show and some of the folks you got to meet during that.
Yeah, so Passion for Fashion is an amazing thing that they do every year. You do it every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is, I mean, so the one thing that I would say is that the opportunities that HCC gives you, do them all. You know, it's just like, get into it, do what you have to do. The one I was at was with Siriano, wasn't it? Yeah, it was with
so you got to
Christian
meet-
Siriano.
okay.
Yeah, that was my first time meeting him. I got to work with him, you know, one-on-one backstage. And actually
What is that
get to-
like?
It is so hectic backstage, and it really prepares you for like real world stuff, which is great because you get to really see like, oh, this is what it's gonna feel like, and it truly does make you see all aspects of design, right? Because the majority of the time, as Nicolas was saying,
Right.
it's you creating, it's you having to make the garment, and then it's like one time that you get to like throw it out, and it's all just so quickly. So, but like we were saying, connections, it's who you know.
Yeah.
And that truly did help out a lot.
If you could say you learned one thing from working with someone like that, what would you say it would be? Well, I know like when I've interviewed athletes and they talk about making that jump from, you know, sports to the NFL, and they say it speeds up dramatically. There's no comparison. What did you learn, like something like that?
I would say it's the same thing. It moves so fast. Fashion moves so quickly. Things are in one day and then they're out the next day, and it's just like constantly moving. You have to move with it. You have to be okay with just accepting everything that's thrown at you.
Right.
And that was one of the things that I learned. You know, I've had like a great background in theater, and that also is one of the things. It's just like the show must go on. So
One
that
way
was
or
a
another.
continuous thing. Yeah.
How do you handle critique in that situation? Because not everything you throw out there, people are going to go, I want that, or I don't want that. How do you handle that?
I love critique. I think that helps you grow. It shows you where your market is. I think once you know your client, then you can sort of assess what your designs become. And then you can really understand, okay, well, maybe this critique right here, they're not my client. They're not my market. They might not get it. And the people that are truly getting it, get it. So I think that you just have to stay true to yourself, stay true to your brand and your aesthetic, and throw out your whole passion. That's part of being an artist. It's throwing it out into the world and hoping that they like it, or maybe they don't.
People are going to ask, what are you currently up to? And let's talk about aspirations, where you're looking at going in the next couple of years.
Yeah, so right now we're rolling out with, as you know, Project Runway in December.
We're going to talk about that in a moment.
We're going to
Yeah,
talk about that in
it's
a
pretty
moment.
cool.
I'm sure you have so many
Yeah.
questions. I have my fashion show that I
Yeah.
do to show my new collection. I do a solo show every 6 months to show my new collection, and so that has me stressed.
Yeah.
Stressed. Aspirations. I actually plan to move out of Houston for a couple of years, branch out in a bigger city, and just throw my name Allentude out into the world so that more people catch it.
And what is your brand name?
Allentude.
Allentude.
It's like attitude,
Yeah,
but
I got
Allentude.
that.
It's cute. You know, I
There
thought
you
it
go.
through.
You do a fashion show every 6 months. What you learned at HCC, does that help you in setting up this fashion show?
1,000%.
Yeah.
While I was at HCC, I did every backstage opportunity that I could possibly do. If they had a show, I was back there dressing the models. I learned, how to do production. I learned how to make sure that the model fittings were happening, how to make sure the designer got what he needed, and things like that. 1,000%.
And working with students like Alan, I mean, he gets it, working, being well-rounded. But from what you were telling me earlier, not all the students have that in mind when they first come in.
I think that there's something to be said for the passion. I think that
Yeah.
work ethics never go out of style. If your level of energy and your passion is consistent, then definitely results are going to come through. Whether it's the result you're hoping for, if it's a result altogether, is another
Right.
conversation. I think in the case of Alan, it is a matter of having this conviction, this strength of character as well, because there are some moments that are a little tougher where you doubt yourself and you think, should I just pull the plug on this? It was
Yeah.
fun, and I think that Alan never did this, and this is why he's where he's at now.
And so, and it must be a joy looking out there and seeing students who are going somewhere, and being able to show them as an example to the other. And it must be a joy to be able to tell people, you're an example of what you can do if you go through HCC and do things right.
Thank you. Nicolas said it perfectly. You have to have this passion and understanding that the show and the lights is a very small
Sure.
part of the actual chart of working. It is a constant, it's just you with a sewing machine for hours on end, and it's just you with a mannequin. It's like you have to know that work is your whole life, and you have to really want that, because the show part is not the whole part of fashion design. So that's probably just the smallest portion of it.
So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to start off talking to you about that because I want to hear some misconceptions. People think it's all glitz and parties and
Not at
cocktails, but it's a lot of hard work. And we'll talk with Alan more about his upcoming Project Runway appearance. We'll talk about that shortly. Nicolas ChampRoux from HCC's fashion program. Thanks for being here on the topic.
Thank you.
We'll return just after this.
This is Ronik. She's a mom with a physics degree, so she understands the power of momentum. And she knows that by learning English at Houston Community College, she'll be unstoppable. HCC, for everyone, anytime.
Why? Because it's affordable to me and it's flexible with my schedule.
Why? Because I have big dreams, and here is just one of the first steps in making those dreams a reality.
To be the first in my family to graduate.
To be able to explore the fashion industry while working a full-time job.
Because I have a small town budget with big time dreams.
Because the teachers are always available.
Because the abundance of job and volunteer opportunities are well grown to us.
It's more than a fashion program, it's a community.
It gives you hands-on training with a real-life experience.
This is Daniel. On his way to becoming a rock star, he got burned, literally. So he changed his tune and his career, and he's starting at Houston Community College. HCC, for everyone, anytime.
Welcome back to The Topic. I'm Todd Duplantis, joined by Alan Gonzalez, HCC alum of the fashion design program, and you're also going to be on Bravo's Project Runway.
I am. I'm so excited about that.
And that's a very exciting thing. Before we get to that, though, we were talking earlier on the podcast about the misconceptions of being a fashion designer. A lot of folks think all you do is go hang out with stars at the parties and, make appearances and appear on covers and be on TV shows. What's reality?
That's definitely not it. It's a part of it, 1,000%,
Sure.
and it is very nice.
You got to promote yourself. You got to market yourself.
Of course,
absolutely.
it's a network gig. It's a people person kind of job. You have to be a people person. But you also have to be very great at just working. You have to understand that being a fashion designer is a service job. You are providing a service to someone else. Mm-hmm. You definitely get to call shots on what your designs look like, but at the end of the day, it's up to your client.
Right.
They have to buy it.
And you talked earlier about sitting at the sewing machine for countless hours, but also when you're working one of your shows, you're doing all the jobs, and you learned all of that. So talk again about that.
Yes. So starting out, you have to do everything yourself. You have to be every hand. And so you have to be your model coordinator, you have to be the makeup coordinator, you got to be the front of house, the back of house, the lights, the DJ, the sound. Every single thing you have to do it, because starting out there just is nothing in the budget.
Right.
And so you just have to do every single part. Right now we're getting ready for my next show, so of course it's eat, sleep, drink show time.
And for those of you wondering about Alan's shows, you can go to his websites. The brand design is Alantude, ALANTUDE.com, Alantude.com, and they can find all the information.
You can find all my information at alantude.com, and if you're not one of those people that knows how to do sites, then you can follow us on all social media at Alantude.
Now, Bravo's Project Runway, how does something like that come about? Do they find you? Do you apply? How does that work out?
It is such a crazy thing. It's come by so fast. I think that for me, it was truly when the Lord said it was time, He done pushed me in, and here I am. That is exactly how it went down. The Lord said, Alan, this is what we're doing next. And I said, okay, Jesus Christ, let's go.
Let's move with. What was your philosophy going into the competition?
I have to say that going into it, I said, you know what? I'm not here to make friends. I am here to win. This is not me looking for my, new friendship. This is me trying to win. And yet I came out with it with like 15 new friends. It was absolutely an amazing experience. I learned so much. The design aspect, the judges, the other designers, the amount of talent in the room. Mm-hmm. It was so crazy. It was so good.
And you've worked with famous designers before, even when you were working runway shows here at HCC. Yes. Once again, what do you learn from them, and who are some of the ones that you worked with, had a chance to work with?
I think at the end of the day, they're all people. Mm-hmm. They're just trying to live their life, and they're just trying to do their thing. And I think that understanding really helps you, because you get to connect with them on a different level than when you just see them send down the clothing. Part of sending down your clothing is you have a message with it. It came from an inspiration of somewhere, and getting to work with them through the opportunities that HCC gives you is that you truly get to see what was the designer thinking when they created this. And so it was beautiful getting to be with all those people.
And getting that insight, how did that help you going into the competition for Project Runway?
It helped me understand that I am not as crazy as I thought I am, because we all think in these crazy manners, and it's part of the artist's life. It all makes sense. Mm-hmm. We're all just trying to throw art on the runway and hope that it works out.
Earlier, Nicolas ChampRoux from the HCC Fashion Design Program was talking about sometimes people may want to give up, think, oh, this just isn't right. Have you ever faced that in your personal life? Like, what am I doing? Do I go into something else? Has that happened with you?
Oh, that is every day. It's an everyday thing. Especially if you're in Houston, you have the time to contemplate it in the traffic. So, it's perfect. It's perfect. But I think that that's what makes you a stronger person. It really makes you think, how bad do I want this? And then you just come out on the other side stronger, wanting it more, wanting to push even harder. And I think that having a supportive family, like my mother and brother, having a supportive community with my, Catholicism, and having that support team all around with friends and, just everyone pushing you forward, it really does help.
And also having a bit of a thick skin, because being a designer, like any artist, you got to be able to handle the critique and work with it as a growth opportunity.
Yes. I have to say that my high school prepared me for that one. HSPVA definitely prepared me, to do auditions, to get shut down, to take no's, and then keep pushing until you get the yes.
And you were a theater. You said you started theater. Huh?
I was originally a musical theater major, and then I decided that this was more my thing. And
what made you change it? At what point did you decide to change and go into fashion design?
I liked seeing how changing somebody's attire truly just lit up their life for that night. And I loved getting to give that feeling of being on a stage to everybody. I feel like I got the feeling, I felt that I was on stage, I felt those lights, it felt amazing, and I wanted to give that to other people on a daily basis. And getting to dress people in my Alumnus designs really does that.
Talk about Alumnus, because that we really have only touched on it briefly, but that's your brand.
Yes.
And if someone says, describe what your brand is about, what would you tell them?
Alumnus is for the woman that wants to be noticed. It is definitely somebody that walks into the room and demands attention, which is truly my personality. I think that Alumnus is my attitude. It's my personality. I think that as soon as I walk into a room, I'm loud, I'm in your face, and I have a lot to say. And I think that all my designs are the same way.
And I'll ask you this question, and I'm not sure if you want to throw it out there or not, but here goes. If you could pick certain stars you'd like to dress with Alumnus, for your brand, who would you approach?
I've always said that I love your classic Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman.
Okay.
Oh! Those women. Oh my God. They are beautiful, they are gorgeous, and I think they would just look so good in an Alumnus gown.
So there's the pitch for right now.
Yeah, y'all find me immediately. Thank you.
Alumnus.com.
Alumnus.com. Call me.
We've got just a few moments left, but if you could look at the whole Project Runway and what thing you've taken from that, what would you say about that?
I would say that there's so much more to do. I think this one really just showed me that I can do more, and we're going to do more. And so that it has opened up so many more doors. It's opened up so many more connections, which, as we keep saying, is what it's all about. So I'm very excited to see where the Lord wants me next. I am beyond ecstatic.
Alan Gonzalez, thanks for being here on the topic
today. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you on Project Runway. You can watch Alan on the Bravo Network and enjoy his show there. And thank you for being here on the topic. If you'd like to download our audio podcast, make sure you visit hccs.edu/podcast for the topic on HCC TV. I'm Todd Duplantis. I'll see you next time.